High Tides. Hope you had a great week. Well, this week we got the chance to speak to our principal, Mr. Donahue. Let's see what he has to say.
New Year's resolution this year, much like most of the world, is to be healthier and lose 15 pounds. My New Year's resolution from a year ago is rather unique because a year ago at this time I was in the middle of dealing with prostate cancer. So my focus at that time was on being cancer-free. My surgery was in February, and I went through the cancer surgery, came out clean, and right now I'm cancer-free. So yes, I think my resolution was achieved last year. My childhood days, my life as a student, I was one of 6 children, born in North Miami, born and raised in North Miami, not too far away from here. My dad was a high school teacher. He taught U.S. history at North Miami High School. With 7 children and one income, a teacher's income, we didn't have a lot of money. So being a good student was important, and that's pretty much all we had. I enjoyed sports. I enjoyed being outdoors. I was successful in school. I was not a great student, but I was good. My dad made me work hard in school, and obviously respecting of teachers and respecting education was important. But growing up in North Miami in the 70s was a good time. In my free time, I like spending with my family and also going to different sporting events. I'm a season ticket holder with my daughter Carrie for Marlins baseball and the Florida Panthers hockey. So when it doesn't conflict with a school night, I'll go to a baseball game, a Marlins game with my daughter or my wife or my son, but mostly my daughter, or I'll go to a Panthers hockey game. People say, why don't you go to Heat games or Dolphin games? I do, but not as often. Do I collect anything? Yes, I collect, as you can see, my bobblehead collection. That's one of the best things I collect. Back when I was a kid, I collected baseball cards. Unfortunately, while I was away at college, my mom got rid of them. Probably threw away several $1,000s worth of baseball cards. But when my children were younger, we started a collection for them as well, which we do enjoy looking at from time to time. In general terms, I'm most proud of being able to help so many people each and every day. Back when I was a late teenager, I made it a goal of mine to make as many people happy every day as possible. And even though back in the 80s I was an athletic trainer, and then a high school teacher, then a department chair, then an assistant principal, and now a principal, it's still my goal to try and help as many people as possible each and every day be the happiest that they can be. So in general, that's the thing that I'm most proud of. Specifically, I have a certificate that I earned over there on the wall, my National Athletic Trainers Association certificate. Back when I finally decided what I wanted to do in life, that was the key, was obtaining that certificate. And it took 5 years, but I laid out a plan and I accomplished it when I got that certificate. I remember hugging my mom and dad, and it was my most precious accomplishment. My motivation for this job is to do whatever I can for Miami Beach Senior High School, the students, the faculty, the parents. Do whatever I can to make the students successful. If I can do that, then I'm going to be a successful principal, and I'll be happy when I go to bed at night. I'd like students to remember me throughout my career, whether it's being principal or assistant principal or teacher or athletic trainer, as someone who cared for them and did what was right.
Thanks, Mr. Donahue. Do you know what LGBT plus means? Well, Elizabeth will tell us.
Being LGBTQ+ is not just about physical attraction, but rather encompasses the same needs all people have, to be loved and to be accepted. Most people in our school are familiar with the first 4 or 5 strands of the acronym LGBTQ+, but even still, many are not. So let me explain. The G is for gay. That means a man that is interested in other men, like Patrick. also known as Mr. Simmons. The L is for lesbian. That means a woman that is interested in other women, like Saskia. The B is for bisexual. That means a person that is interested in both sexes, like Stephanie. The T is for transgender. That means a person whose gender identity differs from the sex that was marked at birth, like Troy. And finally, the Q, which can stand for questioning or queer, depending on what the person is comfortable with. This means a person that is uncertain of their orientation, like me. Today, becoming familiar with these different labels is great. However, it's also important that you learn about the less accepted, represented, and talked about identities and orientations. They are all valid, beautiful, and not confused. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU, there are currently no laws in 27 states, including Florida, from protecting individuals from job discrimination based on actual or perceived sexual orientation. This means that at any time, someone can be discriminated against, fired, or not hired simply because they are or are perceived to be gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or queer. Here at Beach High, we strive towards making sure that no one at our school ever feels oppressed or discriminated against because of who they love, how they look, or who they are. If you'd like to learn more about these different identities and orientations and how you can contribute to the fight for civil rights among the LGBTQ+ community, you can visit www.thetrevorproject.com, which offers the largest safe social networking community for LGBTQ+ youth, best practice suicide prevention educational trainings, resources for youth and adults, and advocacy initiatives. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. We lost a very well-known creative man recently. He touched many lives in many areas. David Bowie was a musician, a songwriter, a music producer, painter, and actor. Let's hear it from Oscar.
David Robert Jones, also known as David Bowie, born January 8, 1947, deceased due to cancer the 10th of January of this year. He was an English songwriter, singer, multi-instrumentalist, record producer, painter, and actor. He was a figure in popular music for over 5 decades and was considered by critics and musicians as an innovator, particularly for his work in the 70s. Some think
he really was kind of a renaissance man of our times.
Some say
David Bowie was the man.
A weirdo musician. He was like a freaky, kind of weird space kid.
Isn't he a singer?
Yes, but he was also an alien, a soldier, a goblin, and even Nikola Tesla. He was widely known as an actor and received a Saturn Award for Best Acting Work in his role Thomas Jerome Newton in the movie The Man Who Fell to Earth. His career was marked by reinvention and visual presentation. His music and stagecraft significantly impacted popular music.
He really transformed with music. He stayed current, which is very difficult to do.
Everything he did was so different and so new, and we hadn't seen it before.
As a musician, you kind of run into David Bowie's music, the more you listen to pop music.
He survived in a very tough business in all kinds of styles.
It was very provocative.
During his lifetime, he sold an estimated of 140 million records worldwide. In the UK, he was awarded 9 platinum album certifications, 11 gold and 8 silver. And in the US, he received 5 platinum and 7 gold certifications. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1996.
It's very popular, very kind of catchy, kind of a nice groove to the music. My favorite song by him, and he has dozens of songs, is that song called Let's
Dance.
Space Oddity, Life on Mars, Under Pressure that he did with Freddie Mercury from Queen.
Changes and Life on Mars, those are my 2 favorite songs by him.
There's a wonderful documentary on him called Cracked Actor, which I would recommend to anybody who's interested in him to have a look at it.
We'll miss you, David Bowie. Well, high tides, have a great long weekend, and we'll see you next week.